People want to know why we do what we do.
They want to know where we're going.
We're two guys with big hearts.
We love telling a good story.
And we're damn good at it.
We're local realtors who love serving others.
We are relationship-based and data-driven.
We love showcasing our corner of the world.
And we do it in style.
We are the local voice in the community.
It's time to turn on the mics.
And let's get to the show! Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am excited to be here in the Betty D studio, sitting with our guest today, who is someone that you should definitely know. If you've ever moved in your life or known someone who moves in your life, you know that the quality mover is worth its weight in gold. Absolutely worth every penny that you put into it. It helps make the move process go well. But what you probably didn't know are there are a lot of people behind a quality moving experience that make that success happen. Well, stay tuned because you're about to find out today who some of these people are and how that process works. But before we get to that, let's hear from our sponsors.
All right, friends, we are excited to showcase one of our sponsors, Bellworks, Chicagoland, and Hoffman Estates. Bellworks is new to the Chicago area, but the vision has been around since 2008 in New Jersey. We decided to set up our office and studio here at Bellworks because the energy within the building is off the charts. Working around other businesses and entrepreneurs in this modern space is unlike any other place available here in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. From the unique design to the vibe of being around other businesses and entrepreneurs, we were hooked from the first time we walked through the doors. The vision behind the Bellworks model is special, and in our opinion, the future of how we will work, live, and play. They coined the term metroburb, metropolis and suburbia. My friends, it is the best of both worlds, a city vibe, but right here in the suburbs of Chicago. Bellworks is a destination for business, culture, and life unlike any other in our area, with world-class offices, one-of-a-kind retail space, delicious dining options, awesome event spaces, and much more. The build-out is still in the beginning stages, but trust us when we say that it is a special place. Bellworks is unique in that it is a special place for any size business. Businesses have the opportunity to grow without ever having to leave Bellworks. They can start with a private office within a collaborative co-working environment called CoLab. When they grow to where they need more space, they can get a private built-out spec suite within the ready-to-wear suites. And if the business keeps growing, they can have a suite built up on the 3rd and 4th floors. The building is truly meant to create a community to help businesses thrive, grow, and be successful. The building is beginning to come alive and growing with tenants every single day. We are having a blast here at Bellworks and have enjoyed our new routines from working out in the Fit Lab gym that is available on the lower level to our coffee and lunch from Fairgrounds in the square. Bellworks is bringing urban cool, urban comfort, and urban convenience to the suburbs. To learn more about Bellworks, visit www.bellworks.com or reach out to us. We would love to connect you with them. All right, guys, Jason here. You got to come visit us at Bellworks. Great Wi-Fi. They got the Fairgrounds coffee as well. Come chill and hang out with us. Today, we are super stoked to be here with the owner and CEO of Midwest Moving and Storage, Louis Toledo, a.k.a. Louis the Mover, you might know him as. He's been in business for quite a long time. He's a passionate man who believes in taking care of his people and delivering a high level of service. And we've had the opportunity to work with Midwest Moving and Storage and his team, and we can honestly say it's high end. So welcome to the show, Louis. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
Excited to have you on today. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk about this. But before we get rolling, we've got to talk a little bit about what's in our cup today. So before we do that, every show we like to highlight a different local beer that somehow connects to our guest. Today is no different for that. Today's choice is an obvious pun on our guest company's name, but their name is not all that they have in common. Midwest Coast Brewing is located on Walnut Street in Chicago and has a great list of unique beers. Midwest Coast Brewing is also on the move around Northern Illinois as they are quickly growing their span and where you can find them on tap or in the can. But the most important reason why I picked them today is their Pack Tech recycling program. What the heck is Mike talking about? Let me explain. So every 4-pack or 6-pack of beer comes with...
If I had $1 every time I ask myself, what is Mike talking about, I would be rich and wouldn't have to be here right now. Just throwing that out there, buddy.
Everybody who gets craft beers gets 4 cans or 6 cans, and they always see these little plastic, they're called Pack Techs. They basically hold the beer in place. However, when you're done with them, you just throw them in the garbage. Huge issue for the environment. Obviously, people are addressing that, and Midwest Coast Beer obviously partnered up with another Chicagoland carrier, Reuse and Recycle Co-op, that starts recycling these. So if you have, like myself, probably have 100 of these things in your garage, you can stack them up, bring them over to Midwest Coast, and as tall as your stack is, you get a free amount of beer in a pint.
That's pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool.
That's cool, yeah.
And the reason why I like it is because Midwest Moving and Storage takes their sustainability in the environment. Obviously, moving's a lot of cardboard, a lot of packing, probably a lot of waste. You'd be surprised to hear today they take sustainability serious, and they're trying to get that out of the environment as well. So very happy to talk about that with Lewis. So let's drink up, guys, and get started.
All right,
I'm
cheers.
sticking to water today, gentlemen, but I'm there in spirit. Cheers. So, Lewis, before we kind of dive in too deep, just can you give our guests a little bit of knowledge about who you are and what you do?
Well, sure. I'm going to go way back to 1955. That's when my parents moved, immigrated from Puerto Rico into Evanston, Illinois. And I was born and raised there. And there was 8 of us living in a 3-bedroom apartment. My dad made about $15,000 a year growing up, so it wasn't a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he instilled work in me at quite a young age. So I got a paper route at 12 years old. I used to make about $15 a month, and I would have to pay my parents half of that for rent at 12 years old. 14 years old, I moved on.
Hey, that's pretty steep. If you were to consider inflation, that's probably still pretty expensive. That's half your paycheck just in rent at 12 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Well, I think the rent for the 3-bedroom apartment back then was about $230 a month. So
Yeah.
I don't think you could live anywhere for that anymore.
Or if you could, you wouldn't want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, is the place where you moved in Evanston, is it still there?
Yes, it is.
Do you bring family members by? Because like I bring my kids by where I grew up.
On occasion,
Yeah.
I've driven by and said that's where I grew up, and this is the alley I played in, chasing the stray cats, and
Is it the same as my kids? They don't care.
yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, I was going to say, I started
find
doing that
that-
with my kids. They're 6 years old, and they're like, Dad, I don't care. Like, take me to Dairy Queen or something.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. All right, sorry, I derailed you.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I moved on to as I was going through high school, I got a job at a True Value hardware store, making $1.65 an hour. I was finishing high school, and I was contemplating whether I'm going to go to the junior college or if I'm going to work. Opened the newspaper up, and I saw a job opening for movers for $4.50 an hour.
I mean, who wouldn't go for that?
Oh.
From $1.60 to over $4.
I put
It's a big pay bump right there.
Yeah.
I put on my muscle shirt and went and applied.
You
So-
put on the smallest shirt you
Yeah.
had, so you looked muscular.
Yeah, absolutely. They hired me right away, and I think the first week I worked about 80 hours and almost died. I had a dresser fall on me, and
Like going up the stairs or something.
How old were you at this time?
18.
18? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was 18 years old, and the old trucks used to have 2 hooks on a ramp, and the old time movers would make us walk, the new guys walk backwards because it was always harder to walk backwards. So I'm carrying a dresser walking backwards. I step on the ramp, one of the hooks broke, and the dresser fell on my chest.
Oh, gosh.
But I still came to work the next day and kept working. And
Hey, you guys hear that out there? You calling in sick for no reason. He went to work the next day.
That's work ethic, guys.
Yeah.
Like, step up your game, please. Like,
There's no mental health days when you're a mover.
make it happen. That's
yeah,
awesome.
so I worked my way up, learned the business, and within a year, back then, they called it a D license. Today it's a Class A for a tractor trailer, but I tried to get one of the guys to take me to go get my tractor trailer license, and nobody would. Back then, I think they felt like job security. If someone else doesn't get a tractor trailer license, it's good. They got the job.
Yeah.
So one day I walked into the office. There was nobody there. The tractor trailer keys were hanging up behind the dispatch board. So I grabbed the keys, hopped in the tractor trailer, took it to the DMV myself. And the DMV, that wasn't a very good experience. Fortunately, the guy let me take the test. I pulled up to the DMV on the wrong side of the street. As we know,
Wait,
movers.
is this like a 50-foot? Like
Yeah,
okay.
back then they were 48 footers with the tractor. So,
this
yeah,
is a big.
it was a big rig.
You stole a rig.
Yes.
You
yes.
drove it to the DMV illegally parallel parked.
Yes.
Right? And you were trying to get a license.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
I'm following you.
So the instructor comes out and says, "Who has this truck? Why is this truck parked the wrong way? Get it moved." And he said, "Where's the driver for the truck? If you're here to take a license, because somebody with the license is supposed to bring you."
Yeah.
And I says, "I didn't bring anybody, but I need this job really bad." And he's like, "Well, I'm not going to test you. I'll get the other guy to test you." So took me around the block. I got my license and went back to the shop.
Sounds like he was scared.
Got a raise and started driving more short hauls and long distance. Started going on the road a little bit, learning the business more. And I didn't really like the road, so one of the things I like to do.
Let me stop you there because I'm curious. One, when you first started working, were you kind of in the Evanston, Chicago, like?
Yes.
So I mean, that's very tight streets,
Yes.
tight driving.
Yes, lots of viaducts. You have to be careful
Yeah.
that you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
top your trucks.
Let's be honest. Did you get stuck in a couple viaducts?
Nope, never.
Come on, no one knows. No one will hear. Come
I have
on,
pulled
give
up
it
to a viaduct and said it's too low and backed out, but I've never ripped the top off. I've had plenty of them ripped off in my 40 years of business.
Oh
but-
yeah, sure. But I mean, like your first couple weeks of moving and driving those tight city streets, did you bang up a bunch of cars or nothing?
I think the only time I really banged up a lot of cars was in 1979 and 1980. We had, probably before you guys were born,
Yeah.
we had a couple of
80 I was
snowstorms.
born, so I, like,
We had
barely
the
make it.
snowstorms. It was the Ed Belandic mayoral time,
Yeah.
and he actually lost the election because of it, because they had no snow plowing program for the streets.
wow.
And we had more snow than we ever had those 2 years. And going down the streets in Chicago, a truck wouldn't fit, so that you'd be going down the street side-swiping cars. It was just the way it was. It was a nightmare back then. So
So I have a family member during that time period who would, as a side job, would plow streets, and he said the snow was so bad in those years, he took a small car and hit it with a city plow and popped it right over onto the curb.
yeah.
Just kind of destroyed the car.
Well, sometimes you didn't even know there was a car there
Yeah.
because it never got below freezing for like 40 some days straight. So it just kept snowing and snowing, and it became like a concrete.
So you survived those first couple
Oh.
of years of driving.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was.
I always envy people. I look at it today, like if I'm in the city, I'm like, that's the hardest job, driving a trailer anywhere in the city. Those are tight streets.
Well, what I really like to do is I love doing the Evanston third floor to third floor walk downs to walk ups in Rogers Park. So, and we used to have what's called a hump strap. Today, most of the guys don't know how to use a hump strap, but we used to put a bunch of boxes on our back, put it on the hump strap, and go walk down the stairs with 200 pounds of boxes that was the real mover back then.
I mean, I know you can't see in the camera, but like this guy is fit. So like for any age, you look like a fit guy. So I could imagine when you were moving, were you just muscles upon muscles at the time?
I was 195 pounds, and I was pretty strong, pretty buff.
Like 195 pounds like me with like this belly from this, or like a ripped 95.
No, yeah. I was ripped.
Yeah.
You must have looked like a wrestler or bodybuilder by carrying this stuff up these flights,
Yeah,
right?
that was true. I looked like a bodybuilder. One of the things that I used to love to do is when we were moving people, is the people would, the customer would be absolutely happy with us. And I said, "Can we take a break?" So me and my team would get down, and the customer would say, "Yeah, go ahead, take a break. You guys are doing great."
Yeah.
And I'd get down and do 50 push-ups and jump back up and say, "Thanks for the break. Let's get back to work."
You're crazy, man.
Oh, we used to have so much fun.
Yeah, it's also what led you like. That's an amazing story, by the way. I feel like I wish we could like put video to all that and like retell your life story from there, because I think there would be a lot of fun in that. But what led you from there to where you're at today? What was that trigger?
I always made sure that I marketed myself to the customer. The company I worked for was a big local mover. They did about 6,000 to 7,000 local moves a year. Wow. So I always wanted to make sure I had referrals for myself, so I had business because I was competing against 30 other drivers, crews.
Sure, yeah.
So I'd always make sure I got cards printed up. Louis the Mover said, make sure you request me, and lo and behold, I was getting 6 or 7 requests sometimes some days, and my owner was like, "You are incredible. How are you doing this?" And I told him how, and I told him, "Hey, I want to start my own company one day." So he gave me the blessing, and at 22 years old, I went out to search to buy a truck. I didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't get any credit. The bank shot me down a couple times. Asked my dad if he co-signed. He said no. So finally I got one of my friend's dads to co-sign for a $15,000 loan. Got a moving truck when I was 23. And the rest is history. You know, by the time I got one truck, I quickly went to 3 trucks in 6 months and just kept growing the business.
When you give that type of service and like getting to know you through the featured Love Local and through this process with the Zoom calls and stuff like that to get prepped here, like you're very driven and very passionate about what you do, and it comes off with the service. Like I feel like you give, and if you're starting at 12 years old, you're working, you're hustling at that time. You really had 12 years of not too much work. Other than that, you've been working your butt off since.
Oh yeah.
But that's really admirable, and I feel like the way you've done it is just by like being genuine and like delivering that high level service. Like, is that from your parents? Like, where does that
Yeah,
come from?
my dad was one of those guys that went 5 years without missing a day at work. You know, he was up early every day, but he was a factory worker.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted for me, but that's not what I wanted.
For sure. Yeah.
So let's talk about where you know, they do these things on social media. It's like where you started, where you're at now, or whatever it is. The cool kids tell me that. But so like you started with 1 truck, then you had 3 trucks. What is Midwest Moving and Storage now? Like, how big are you? Because I don't think people know that.
I think my last insurance policy, I insured 68 vehicles.
Oh, awesome.
Wow.
So,
That's quite large.
yes.
And actively like movers. How many people do you typically have working in the office supporting?
Pre-pandemic, we had about 200, and it's been a little more difficult now. So I say during the peak times, we'll hit about 125, and the non-peak times, 75.
I mean, to me, I always use the quote of like talent attracts talent. And so obviously they could see how passionate you were in the beginning, and people just kept gravitating towards your company. I mean, you can't get to 100, 200 people without having strong work ethic, being good to your people, and delivering good service.
Yeah, there's nothing I wouldn't have my guys do that I wouldn't do myself, and I even get out on the trucks with them on occasion, and for real difficult projects, jobs, I help them out.
But I assume you make them go backwards.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're the owner, they're going backwards.
Yeah, my Achilles have had enough backwards.
Yeah,
you know.
that's what I
for sure.
Just checking.
We were out for the Love Local featured video shoot. I was really impressed by their attention to detail when it comes to being able to be able to help pack and move your house. There's horror stories that are out there about businesses and moving companies, but your attention to detail was from your team was like second to none, and really impressive. Being as local realtors, like we see at other moving companies, but there's a higher level there for sure than just your average movers.
Well, we try to listen to our customers and what's really important to them. One of the things that we have that's proprietary is we designed and have what we call a home protection kit on every truck. So when we go into a customer's house, the first thing we do is obviously introduce ourselves. Second thing we do is we start laying out runners, protecting the floors. We have door covers, we have banister covers, wall protectors, and we protect the entire home. And we put carpet shield down on any carpet might be in the home, so everything's protected. And and right away they're at ease because, as we know, moving is one of the most stressful 3 things in a person's life. Yeah. So it's how we start a move that brings their anxiety level down.
I could see that, and we were trying to talk before this. You know, we have so many customers or clients, then they're closing on their house, so they're packing up their truck. They're waiting to go to the closing to get the money, clear the bank, and then now they're going to be closing on their new house later that day. And all this time, they don't know what you're doing with their stuff, but you're driving around somewhere. And the last thing they want to do is worry about what you're doing.
Oh.
They want to make sure that the closing went well, the walkthrough goes well, and everything's off their mind. So talk to us a little bit about how the benefits of using a company to do it versus doing it yourself in terms of moving.
Well, the most important thing is, well, I'll give you a story. This was about 20 years ago. I had a customer that was moving to Madison, Wisconsin, and he had about 22,000 pounds of household goods. That's how we estimate. We estimate how much weight is in the house, and we know how much weight our professional loaders can put in a truck. And I gave him a quote for $6,000. This is 20 years ago. Today, it probably costs $12,000.
Yeah.
And
You probably
he thought,
you probably scoffed at that, right?
oh yeah, absolutely. He says, oh, I'll do it myself with my. He says, if you do it yourself, the rental trucks are smaller. You're going to need many more. Your guys aren't experienced at loading the trucks.
Yep.
You don't have the professional quilted pads to protect the furniture. You're going to have damage. In the long run, it's going to cost you more money. So he decided, I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
So he rented 3 trucks, which he ended up having finally 4 trucks. And one of the drivers that was driving the truck up to Madison with the rentals rolled the truck, and he had a disaster. He called me up and told me the story about how much his move cost him 3 times more than what he would have paid to have me do it. So there's really, you have to consider.
You get what you pay for. Yeah.
You have to consider the cost when you do it yourself, because you're going to have damage, and there possibly could be, you know, as we know, as guys, people would always say, hey, I'll buy you some pizza and beer. Come help me move.
Yeah.
If someone gets hurt on that job, who's going to pay for their lost wages and doctor bills?
Oh yeah.
Plus,
Plus
yeah.
I'm a prima donna, so I just like whine and complain if you ask me to help move.
That's true.
I sit
That's
down,
definitely
I'm
true.
You're busy.
tired. Yeah,
That's true.
I'm
That's
fanning
true.
myself the whole time.
I'm glad you said that. And I feel like if I brought my buddies in to help me move, I don't think that the move would go very well. I feel like it would take longer, and I feel like some things would be broken, and like, I don't know, I don't feel like they would be that efficient.
I've moved twice in my life. So the first time I was young and dumb, and so I was just moving out with my girlfriend at the time, and we bought a place. And so we just moved our own stuff. The amount of time and energy that it takes to pack it, to get it loaded up, to beg your friends to show up on time, to get there. Once we got there and unloaded it, we were so exhausted no one wanted to put it away. So when I saw the video that you guys had put together, on you have a program that they'll come pack it and then they'll come to your house and they'll unpack it and lay it all out. That's amazing. Like, I can do that. I just show up, the stuff's all laying around,
Yeah.
I put it where it needs to go.
Peace of mind.
It's so worth it. If anyone's thinking out there, do it yourself, please don't. Like, it's just not worth the headache and frustration.
Or backache.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I also kind of heard a little something about like some of the niche now is we have a lot of baby boomers that are kind of downsizing their house, or they keep their house till they need to go into assisted living or senior living community. Talk to me a little bit about that. Is that a different niche for you guys? Is that something you guys have to handle differently than another group of movers?
Oh yeah, we handle the moves differently when we're dealing with seniors. Because one thing that the seniors are doing is they're leaving a home that they've lived in for 30, 35 years. They're downsizing, going into a 1 or 2 bedroom active living community is the ones we usually move them into, more than assisted living. I think they go into assisted living after they're in an active community.
Yeah.
We have to help them distribute their heirlooms to their children all over the country, so we'll do
I didn't
that
think about
too.
that. Yeah, okay.
So those are some of the things we do, but mostly when we do the seniors, they're usually full packs and full unpacks, because otherwise they'll be living in a house full of boxes and they'll say everything's missing.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Carlos, you guys do a lot of great things. Can you tell our audience just some of the services that you guys have with Midwest Moving and Storage?
Yes, well, when I got involved in the business, I only knew about local moving, and then I found out there was long distance moving, and then I found out there was Department of Defense moving. Actually, the Department of Defense is our largest customer in our industry. They
wow.
do 430,000 moves a year domestically.
Whoa.
The military is the largest employer with 2.2 million people.
Which
So-
that makes sense. So people going from base to base, that kind of stuff?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
And here in Chicago, we have Great Lakes Naval Base. Back then, we used to have the Glenview and and Fort Sheridan too, but those have been closed down since. But Great Lakes is a training base, so we do quite a bit of moving out and into the base. So, that keeps us quite busy. And one thing that the government does do is they vet the moving companies. They just don't allow anybody to do it. So we have to go through a huge vetting process. They have to make sure that our warehouse is licensed and insured for, it's hooked up direct to the police department, fire department. We have a security system in order to store storage for their military members. So.
Wow. Huh. And I'm assuming like the actual workers that are helping move sometimes need clearance to get on
Yes.
certain bases or a certain area? Okay.
Yes, we have to get a certain security clearance to get onto base. You can't have a criminal history. So
So you're out, Jason.
it eliminates a lot of people.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Some of the other things that we do, some of the other services we offer is we got into commercial moving. So we move a lot of offices. Currently, today, we have the City of Chicago moving contract, so any City of Chicago governmental agency that's moving, relocating, whether it's a library, a fire department, it's the art, we even do work for the art museum, they call us and they move under that contract. We also have the state of Illinois moving contract, so right now we're clearing out the Thompson Center that was just sold. And that's about an 18-month project, moving 55 agencies out of there.
Oh, wow. And is that the Chicago Office Movers brand that you have?
Yes. Several years ago, I started another brand called Chicago Office Movers, specifically to deal with office moving. Even though Midwest Moving, that brand does office moving as well. But with Chicago Office Movers, what we did is we were signatory to the Teamsters so that we can go into those union buildings downtown that require a union because they have union elevator operators.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be a requirement.
Right. And
Yeah.
some of the other services that we provide is we'll provide freight services also. So we just moved a company by the name of W Diamond from here to Raleigh, North Carolina, and they had machines that they were moving. So we have riggers that load it onto the Conestogas and drive it there. And we flew our movers in to supervise the job, hired some local guys, and we have a network of commercial movers throughout the country that we can call on. So.
That sounds amazing. So in order to do all of that, in order to achieve all of this, I'm assuming you have a tons of talented people that work for you in order to get that done.
Absolutely. They all learned it from me.
Modesty is our best policy.
Somebody
right?
get this guy another beer.
I really am humble.
I will tell you, I did do a little bit of research, and you should not be humble because there are a lot of awards that your company has won over the years. And so, like, I could just rattle off 5 or 10 of them, but tell me a little bit about one or two that you're most proud of that you guys have achieved.
Probably the two that I'm most proud of, I just recently won Negotials Now. I've got Business of the Year, and that's one that recognizes a business that offers quality, excellent service, as well as gives back to the community. Yeah. The other one is Move for Hunger. And that was issued to us by the International Association of Movers. So we were recognized all over the world as gathering the most amount of food for food banks as a moving company. I believe it was close to 44,000 pounds of food that we donated. So that was a very prestigious award for us to get.
Wow. I did, in researching it, I did see a couple other ones, like the Daily Herald has given you a C-Suite Award of the Year in 2018. And one of your members, which we are very happy to know and work with, Carrie Ann, has won the Leader of the Year and the Woman of the Year by the Schaumburg Business Association.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We're real proud of Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann really keeps our culture and our branding and our people happy.
She's a true advocate. I think seeing her out in the community and meeting her at different chamber events too, like she represents your brand. Like she wears it on her shoulders. And if you look at, I go into like the Everything Schaumburg pages or all those types of groups that we have here locally. There's a lot of them. But when people say a moving company, people talk about Midwest Moving and Storage. Like, and you've earned that right. Like that doesn't come like just because of whatever. Like the only way you get that type of love is if people truly believe in the type of work
Next
that you
year
do.
will be 40 years.
It's pretty awesome, man. Yeah.
Can you believe that though?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
40
not-
years and you're
I-
still
you
27.
know,
How does that work?
My actual business plan when I started when I was 23 is I was going to retire by I was 28. So, I'm still on the 5-year plan to retire.
I had that dream too. I remember telling my buddies.
You failed at
yeah.
that part, but you've done so
Yeah.
much better things on the other side.
I remember telling my buddies, I'm going to be retired time I'm 40. And it was like 21. I'm 41 now. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be retiring anytime soon. But I want to touch base. And you talked about the move for hunger. And I feel like as we've gotten to know your business more, you have a very big place in your culture about giving back. Why and where does that come from?
Well, it comes from my upbringing because I was born with nothing and I had to earn everything and I had a couple of friends growing up in Evanston. I used to play basketball, football, and baseball, and they had a couple of. I remember one of my mentors, my best friend's dad, worked for Sears, and he was always like, "When you get older, you should open up a company. You shouldn't work for anybody." He had mentioned the Minority Business Enterprise Program. He was working for Sears. This was 1967. He was looking for minority companies to buy from at the time. Yeah. And that's when the real movement came in for diversity. And it was instilled in my brain. And I said, you know what? I want to own something. He gave me the confidence and to do it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Advice you would have to somebody who's 22, who's looking.
Good question, Mike.
Yeah, who's looking and saying, "Man, I really want to go out there and start a business, or I want to be my own boss." What can you impart them over 40 years of wisdom? What is one or two things you'd want them to know?
Well, I think today you have network associations. You have associations like we have a movers association. You might have a bloggers association,
Yeah.
and you get involved in an association and you talk to people, and you'll see that people will help you and guide you. I mean, there's no secret sauce. It's just you have to be driven and want to do it and not be afraid of failure.
You got to earn it, right?
Yeah,
you got to put in the work.
Well, the bottom line is that if you don't try, you don't get. So, anybody that hasn't failed hasn't tried. So.
Yeah, totally. So I want to kind of come back to your moving company, and right now is we're getting ready to come into moving month. I might be saying that wrong, but I know May.
Well,
is,
moving season.
Yeah.
It's May 15th usually kicks off moving season.
Cool. So and being in real estate, a lot of people are moving this time of year. So what is some best advice you could give to somebody for their upcoming move?
Well, one of the most important things that when you're looking for a professional mover is that you find a mover that is licensed by the Illinois Commerce Commission in the state of Illinois. It is illegal to start 2 men in a truck, pin it up at Jewel, and charge $75 an hour. You have to be licensed. Yeah. You have to be insured.
Yeah.
You have to
There
have.
goes our plans for the weekend.
Yeah.
We wouldn't get past the truck part.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that when you move with an unlicensed mover is that there's no guarantees that you're ever going to see your stuff again.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Okay? Because they're going to load that truck up. They'll come up with a rental. They'll disappear, and you don't know.
Your money and your stuff is gone.
It's gone. Or if one of the guys gets hurt on the job, as we mentioned before, you're going to end up paying doctors' wages and lost wages.
Yeah.
So, doctor bills. Another one of the things is that if they're not licensed, it is illegal. You could get fined $1,000 if they find out that you knew that they were an illegal mover.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. So again,
Yeah.
check with
I
the
didn't know
Illinois Commerce Commission to.
Is that kind of like the Better Business Bureau
that's the
kind of
same
thing?
question.
Like
Yeah,
BBB?
and
Okay.
that's one of the other organizations you should check. But the Illinois Commerce Commission regulates the transportation of household goods. So check with them to see if the mover's licensed. They also take excessive complaints,
Yeah.
and they also let you know if their license is in good standing, because sometimes movers will be licensed, but they didn't pay their workman's comp bill or their liability coverage bill. And then their license gets suspended.
Yeah.
They get notified right away, so their license gets suspended. So check on that. check with the Better Business Bureau to see if there's an excessive amount of complaints. Go on Google reviews to see if there's an excessive amount of complaints. Get some referrals from the mover. And let's see how long the mover's been in business, see if the mover has an actual brick and mortar facility, because if he's operating out of a post office box, that's a red
It's
flag.
not credible, right?
Yes, that's true.
Is his home address is his business name?
Yeah.
It's not good.
Exactly. So the best advice I could give him is don't call anybody else, just call Midwest, because we're the best.
Amen. You heard it, guys. Call Midwest.
In the show, kind of we kicked off, we talked about our beer, which I'm almost all the way through. But we talked about sustainability, and they're trying to divert plastics, from the environment. I just envision you guys having a bunch of cardboard, metals, packing, those little peanuts that are everywhere. So, what is some of the things that you guys are doing to help divert that kind of waste from the landfill in order to make an impact in the environment?
Well, we do many, many, many things, first of all. But some of the important things that we do is we take the cardboard and paper when we unpack these jobs, and we have a trailer that we fill up. We probably take a trailer load to International Paper for recycling once every 2 weeks. I think we get about $5.25 for taking that trailer
It's not fiscally smart, but environmentally smart.
It's not the money. It's
It's
the
the
environment
purpose,
and keeping
yeah.
it out of the landfills. We also have metal recycling, so any kind of metal we may get off of any moving jobs that people want to get rid of, old file cabinets, whatever it may be, we'll recycle that as well. Some of the other things that we do is we have what's called the Boxless Move. So instead of providing cardboard boxes, we rent you crates, so we own these crates.
Okay.
And you pack into crates, and then when you get moved and unpack, we go and pick up the crates again.
It's actually really smart because, the last time we moved, I did not have a packless, crate or whatever. It was basically cardboard. And I had a garage full of cardboard for a month. And I had a little recycling bin, and I had to cut it up into little squares and try to shove it in my recycler.
yeah.
It was such a pain in the butt. So, I'm glad to hear that there's a way, if I move again, I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, I was kind of upset in my neighborhood. I was just driving down the street yesterday, and it was garbage day, and I saw someone with 8 wardrobe boxes broken down, sitting in the. At least they had it by the recycling bin.
Yeah.
So.
You should leave your card. You should put your card in their door.
Yeah.
When you see something like that.
The best thing to do is to call the mover up, and they'll come and pick up the used materials, and sometimes we do, if the materials is still good, we'll donate them to other people for reuse. So
That makes me feel good. One, you'll pick it up if you don't, you leave it.
Yeah.
2, you're actually giving it to somebody to use or repurposing it for paper again instead of just adding stuff into the landfill.
And another thing that I really hold my drivers accountable for is that when we pull up to a house, that we turn off our trucks right away. We don't allow our trucks to idle for more than 5 minutes. Sometimes you pull up and you see these trucks idling for 2 or 3 hours, even in the wintertime. There's no reason a truck should be idling,
Yeah, I mean,
Makes
for the
sense.
environment, but also $5 a gallon.
Oh, yeah, whoa.
That's outrageous. You spend,
Somebody needs to go buy a Tesla.
Hopefully we'll get to electric vehicles soon.
Yeah,
that would be awesome. But I think they are inventing electric trucks, right, that can pull or haul a
Yes,
load?
absolutely.
Okay.
I have a respect for how you built your business. Not only the grassroots, the blood, sweat, and tears as you build it, but the people that work for you and with you love you, which is huge. And you also believe in taking care of the environment. So you're not just looking at how can I deliver a high level of service with moving and helping those clients, but you're looking at how do I take care of my staff? How do we take care of the environment? And I feel like your perspective is you're looking at everything you should be doing. Where you talk about a lot of moving companies don't have all that in place. Your online reviews. They're pretty sick, man, for moving companies. Moving companies, you look at a lot of them out there, and they're not rated very well. Your online reviews are very good. What do y'all think you do best, and why are they so good?
Well, one of the things that I get a lot of compliments on, and the reason we get a lot of 5-star We don't like 4-star. We want 5-star
Amen, man.
reviews.
Go for broke. Do it. Yeah. Earn it.
And is that we make sure that we use our proprietary home protection kit on all the homes that we go into. We show people that we care. We pad everything in the house. We have mattress bags to bag their mattresses to keep them from getting dirty or torn. We stretch wrap their couches and all their upholstered furniture. And the guys just show care. And that really gives people, the feeling of giving them a 5-star review. So
Caring goes a long way. I feel like you could care. If you care and mess up, I'm cool with it. Like, if you care and if you're vulnerable, like, oh, man, let's fix it. But I'll give you a 5-star review all day if you own it. But that caring piece is huge.
Well, 99.9% of the time, we don't have claims on the jobs. But when we do have a claim, we take care of it, and they still give us a 5-star review. So, it's part of the business, and it's how we handle it after the fact. We don't sit there and avoid the phone call. We have great customer service.
That's the big look, stuff's going to happen. You're going to break something. Something's going to happen in transit. It's just a natural fact. It's the way that you handle it when it's brought to your attention. I think that recovery, that also makes a big deal.
Well,
So you wouldn't have been around for 40 years if you didn't handle things the right way. Things happen, right?
Absolutely. I can give you a story of when things didn't go well.
Sure.
I would love to hear that.
This was, let's see, I was living in Evanston at the time, so it was about 25 years ago. And I used to watch the WGN News, so I turned the WGN News on. It was about 6 in the morning, and I wanted to see what traffic was like, because back then I used to drive all over and sell, and there was a Gapers block on 90. So they said there was a truck burning. So, I look, and I see Midwest Moving on the side of the truck. So
the worst nightmare.
it was my biggest nightmare.
The coffee cup just drops out of your hand.
Back then, I did all the sales, and I knew the 3 customers that were on that trailer because it was going. 2 of them were retiring in Arizona, and one was going to San Diego. And one of the guys was like an ex-military guy, and he was talking about all his awards and all his, he kept all his memorabilia from the war, and I really, my gut just sunk, and I got dressed quick, went to the office, called every one of them, told them, I really apologize, but I have bad news, and I'll try to salvage whatever I can, but the fire department's trying to put the trailer out right now, and it's on fire. And it wasn't anything that we did that was negligent. What ended up happening is the trailers have landing gear, and they have these brackets that hold the landing gear from the side. One of the brackets was loose, so we took it over to the trailer doctor in Des Plaines, and as he was welding the bracket on, the trailer caught fire, and it
took a while for it to.
It was inside, but they managed to get it out, and that caused the gapers. So that was probably one of the most. The best part of the story is that we took care of everything that they had. All our customers were happy, and we ended up getting referrals from these people because we stood up to the plate.
So awesome. A good strategy is let WGN report that your car's on fire on the highway.
That's kind of good PR.
I guess all PR is good PR, right? Yeah. What is the most unique thing you've moved? Like I envisioned like some famous like Elton John's piano or something. Like what is something it's a good story you tell at cocktail parties?
I have a lot of them, but I want to say the planetarium has the big world.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were painting the room, so they needed the big world moved out. So that was quite a challenge. It came in 2 halves, and it was huge. So
you've literally moved the world.
We moved the world. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
That's a tagline if I've ever heard it.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. There's a lot of really, great stories, but I probably need about 6 more beers.
Yeah. Lewis, I feel like we could talk to you all day. You're such a great conversationalist. We're getting ready to wrap up. I know your cup's getting empty.
More beer, I'm out. So.
But one of the questions we like to ask the guests to come on this show is, what is your favorite part of opening the doors every day?
Oh, my favorite part of opening the doors is that I love to see what I've you know, what we have as a team, everybody working together, the culture that we have, making people happy, knowing that I'm not that crook out there that's on the FBI most wanted list for walking away with people's stuff. So, you know, that's
It's a good list not to be on.
That's
Yeah.
what- yeah, that's
well,
one
you'd
of
be
those
surprised
lists
if you
that-
go Google it. You'll
Yeah.
see there's a lot of movers on there.
Yeah. I'll definitely check it out.
A mover with integrity is always
Yeah,
a good thing,
exactly.
right? You got to find one and stick with them. And I think we have found one with you, Louis. So I appreciate it. My cup is empty.
Cool.
And so, you know, unless you got any other questions.
No, I think if I know a lot of our audience, it's moving season. It's nice outside. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you for their big move and learn more about Midwest Moving and Storage, how can they do that?
Well, they can go onto our website, midwestmoving.com. They can Google us. They can call us. We're on Facebook. We're on social media. So we're easy to find.
Cool. Sounds good. So yeah, guys, hit them up. Midwest Moving and Storage. We wouldn't have them on our show if we didn't believe in them and their ability to be able to deliver a high level of service. And they're just, you touched on it earlier, but they care, and that goes a long way in business and in life. So thanks, Louis, so much, man. Appreciate you.
Well, thank
Yep.
you.
Absolutely, Louis. I appreciate you coming on the show today and in hearing what all Midwest Moving and Storage has to offer in the local community. And for Mike and Jason, thanks for listening to Love Local today. Every community is made up of unique and interesting people. Louis is just another example of that. So until next time, support local, love local, and we're all stronger together.
Peace out, friends.